What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first installment of the Grid Lockdown podcast. Now, this is a very special moment in NBL history because this is the first NBL show whose content is specifically dedicated to the development league of the NBL, the Grid. I'm very excited to be the host of the podcast. My name is Jwack. I am currently a member of the Grid, and I am ready to get this show rolling. So let's go. For those of you that aren't current members of the NBL or the Grid, you may be asking yourself, what is the Grid? We've heard of the NBL, but we don't know what the Grid is. Well, essentially, the Grid is the development league for the NBL. Now, the NBA, the NBA has their D League. You can essentially look at the Grid as the NBL's D League. Now, that's not to put a dark light on the Grid. The Grid is a fantastic league with a lot of talented members, and we're all in it together. We're all looking to fight our way to make it into the NBL someday, and it's currently run by current NBL members. Now you have your commissioner Backley, who does a great job. His admins Jwack, Mr. McGiblets, Playapatna, and a lot of other current NBL members. I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a few others that are in the Grid still, and they're in the NBL that are in there to kind of help facilitate things as well. And I gotta say, and I gotta give those guys their props, they do a hell of a job. Now, with the current dropout rate of the NBL becoming fewer and fewer and taking longer and longer for new members to get called up, the current talent pool that's accumulating in the Grid is becoming better and better week by week. It's becoming more and more competitive to work your way up into the NBL. And I think it's safe to say this podcast wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. I mean, we're talking the last time someone was called up from the Grid to get into the NBL. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it took over 90 days. And that's a hell of a long time to wait. But it's not like we're waiting, We have a very committed group. We have a very committed CFM. And it's a great league. Honestly, there is no other league like the Grid, but there's no other league like the NBL. We are the NBL's little brother. So sign up, go to 365.maddenbomberleague.com and apply. Get on that waiting list. You want to be in this league, trust me. Now, we're going to get into the current top 5 call-up list, the members that are currently waiting to get called up to the NBL. We're going to start up from the bottom, and at number 5, we have All Business. All Business is a newer member to the Grid, but when it comes to content creation, this guy is number 1. All Business does all the graphic design, all the artwork for the NBL, and our commissioner, Bomber, he actually convinced All Business to go out and get the Xbox One, get Madden, and get himself immersed in this league. Now, he's not a bad player either. I actually just played him the other night. He's completely sim, follows the rules, and those are the keys right there. Create content, follow the rules, be an active member in the Grid, and you'll find yourself cracking the top 5 here soon. And you can actually get a hold of All Business at web3ks.com. That's web3ks.com. Hit him up. I'm sure he'd be happy to work with you, get your graphic design and web design needs fulfilled. So at number 4, we have 24. That is the name he goes by in the Grid. He is the current owner of the Saints and the current defending Super Bowl champion. Now, 24 is strictly business. This guy, he comes in and he gets it done. He's been a member for probably about 3 months now. Follows the rules, very sim. I've never heard anybody complain about his gameplay whatsoever, and he just gets it done. That's why he's in the top 5 and he's at number 4. Next, we have number 3, and that is Brocco Beef. If there was one word that would be able to describe Brocco Beef, that word would be active. This guy is always active in the chat, always positive in what he has to say, and always looking to help other members out. And that's a recipe for getting into the top 5. You got to be an active member in the chat, positive, always playing your games. This guy is always playing his games. He may not have the best record. I think he's sitting at 2-7 right now, but he also came in and took over a team that he didn't really have a chance to build, and that's hard to do. So, Brocco Beef, I commend you for being at number 3. You're doing a heck of a job. Keep it up. Now, at number 2, we have Lil Bio. Lil Bio, I like to call him the silent assassin. He goes about his business, plays his games, very sim player, a guy you want to have in your league. Now, a little history lesson. Bio and I actually went to college together. We're both from Ohio. I actually brought him into this league, but that has nothing to do with him being at number 2. That's all him, his hard work and his dedication to the league, and his want to be in the NBL. And currently sitting at number 1 is myself, Jwack, currently the owner of the Redskins. We're sitting at 7-4 and right on the edge of making the playoffs in this last and final season in the grid. I've worked hard to be an active member in the grid. I've done my best to create content like mock drafts going into the draft, things like that. And I've also passed my tests and haven't missed one question yet. Now, for those of you that don't know or are new to the grid, what are the tests? The commissioner of the NBL, Bomber, will actually send out a 5-question test to the top 5 on the call-up list every couple of weeks. And the test consists of questions about NBL history, the rules, and the NBL content. So you have to be a fully immersed member of the NBL to get these questions right. If you haven't taken one of those tests, I suggest you rewind this, go back, and listen, or I can repeat it for you right now. You get 1 minute to answer 5 questions related to NBL content, NBL history, and the rules. Now, the top scorer on these tests will move to the top of the call-up list, and the bottom score will actually move out of the top 5, and the next member that the commissioner feels is worthy will move into that 5th spot. Now, these tests are important, and the reason is the NBL doesn't want to just bring up the average Joe, somebody that just plays their games, is sim, but it's getting to the point where they want people that are creating content. They want people that are immersed in the NBL. They want people that are going to bring something new to the league. And they want somebody that's immersed. They want somebody that pays attention in the NBL and cares. So we're going to move on here. We're going to take a look at the current playoff picture. This is currently the last and final season of the grid in Madden 16. And we're going to start over in the AFC. Currently standing at the 1 seed is the Pittsburgh Steelers, owned by our commissioner Backley. They are 12-0, and Backley's been rolling with a rookie quarterback, Dustin Joyner, who has pretty much filled the shoes of Ben Roethlisberger, as hard as that is to say. He is sitting at 35 touchdowns currently, only 10 interceptions, and over 3,300 yards. Now, this guy does have a plethora of weapons to choose from, coming, Le'Veon Bell, Martavis Bryant, Antonio Brown, Sammy Coates. Now, those are weapons. And he also has a nasty defensive front that's able to get all over the opposing quarterbacks, causing all sorts of disruption, and that has certainly led him to the number 1 seed and 12-0. Next, we have the Chargers sitting at 10-2 in the 2 seed in the AFC, and the owner of the Chargers is Jam Zell, who also is currently a member of the NBL. This team is a solid all-around football team. Brandon Cooks currently leads their wide receiving core with 600-plus yards right now and 6 touchdowns. Definitely a guy you want to have on your team. Their defensive passing yards per game is currently the 4th best, only allowing 174 yards. And their total defense is currently 4th best as well, currently only allowing 238 yards per game. Coming in with the 3rd seed, we have the newest member of the grid, XGN Cyclone. He is currently the owner of the Jets, sitting at 9-2. The Jets are led by 4th-year running back Sean Austin out of the U. He's quickly approaching 1,000 yards rushing and currently has 7 touchdowns on the year. The Jets will need to get their passing game going if they want to be considered true contenders. They're currently sitting at 31st in the league in pass yards per game with a lowly 175 yards a game. They're going to need to step that up if they want to have any chance of contending. At the 4th seed, we have Mr. Perfect with the Colts, sitting at 8-3. They have one of the most explosive offenses in the grid. They are 3rd in total rush yards, 4th in total yards, and 5th in total points scored. They are led by Andrew Luck. But if they're looking to make a push here in the playoffs, they're going to need to step up their run D. They're currently sitting at last in total rush defense. Coming in at the 5th seed, we have Little Bio with the Broncos. Their current record is 7-4. They are led by wideout Demaryius Thomas, who is quickly approaching 1,000 yards receiving and currently has 10 touchdowns on the year. They're just a solid team. They have a great defense. They have a great offense, but they have a tough patch of games coming up including the Steelers, Jets, and Chargers, all teams who I've already mentioned before in this playoff picture. So if they're able to pull out those wins, then you can definitely look for the Broncos to be in the playoffs. And last but not least, in the AFC, in your 6th seed, we have old man play a partner in the Raiders. They're currently 7-5. Now, the Raiders, they're not your most prolific team, not your most explosive team, but they just get W's. They find a way to win. In 5 of their 12 games, they've scored 7 or less points. They're going to need to find themselves an identity if they're looking to make a late playoff push and a playoff run. Now we're going to shift our focus to the NFC, starting with the 1 seed, the 10-1 Saints, owned by your boy 24. Now you want to talk about explosive offenses. This team features one of the best quarterbacks in the league, Jarrett Rodgers. They also feature second-year wideout DeMarcus Blake, Kyler Patrick at tight end, and Devontae McNeil at running back. This team has it all, including one of the best defenses in the grid, led by middle linebacker Thomas Hale, who already has 8 interceptions on the year. Landon Collins at safety has 5 sacks on the year, so you can already picture what kind of defense the Saints will throw at you. They'll bring blitzes from wherever on the field. Definitely look out for your defending Super Bowl champs. At the 2 seed in the NFC, we feature the best defense in the grid, led by N-Train, the owner, and the Seattle Seahawks. This team is currently 10-2, and they just won't allow you to earn a first down. They will make you earn every single yard. They are first in total yards allowed, pass yards allowed, total points allowed, and 7th in rush yards allowed. Talk about a dominant defense. At the 3rd seed, we have the 8-3 Bears, led by owner Jwack. They feature one of the most explosive wide receiving cores, featuring Kevin White, Alshon Jeffrey, and Kendall Wright. I'm going to go ahead and say the Bears are going to make it into the playoffs. They're already 8-3, and their upcoming schedule is fairly easy. I definitely can see Jwack and the Bears making it into the playoffs. At the 4th seed, we have the New York Giants, who are 7-4, currently tied with the Minnesota Vikings and the Washington Redskins. The owner of the Giants is Cypress, one of the craziest dudes in the league, but also one of the most active members. The Giants are led by 2 MVP candidates, their quarterback Simon Cole, and also Odell Beckham Jr. out at the wideout position, who currently has 16 total touchdowns on the year. If you plan to stop the Giants, you're definitely going to have to stop those 2 from hooking up. At the 5th seed, we have the 7-4 Vikings, led by owner Smooth Operator, one of the newer members to the grid, but I can already tell with the contributions he's made to the grid already, he's going to be a great member. As far as his team goes, he's led by receiver Aaron Stewart, who has already racked up 15 touchdowns and over 1,200 yards. So if you're planning on stopping the Vikings, you're going to have to put the clamps on this guy. The Vikings' upcoming schedule is really not that tough, so I expect the Vikings to coast into the playoffs and make a nice run with their solid defense and their explosive offense. And last but not least, 6th seed is the Redskins, which is my team. And again, I am Jwack. And this team, is not very explosive. They just find a way to win. Their rush defense is very strong, as well as their pass defense, and they do a good job of mixing up their coverages. But I'm not one to toot my own horn, so it's going to be a tough road ahead to get into the playoffs and to make ourselves a run at that ring. The current teams on the bubble looking to get into the playoffs: in the AFC, we have your 6-5 Ravens, your 6-6 Browns, and your 5-6 Dolphins. And on the NFC side, we have your Panthers at 6-5, your Rams at 6-5, and your Falcons at 5-7. Now it's time to get into our member profile spotlight of the podcast, and in this podcast we feature Brocco Beef, who currently sits at 3rd on the MBL call-up list in the grid. Brocco has been a member since mid-April 2016, at least from what we can remember. He started playing Madden in 2000, and he's currently 24 years old, and he is engaged and getting ready to get married. Now, the first question I had for Brocco was, what is he looking forward to the most when he makes it to the NBL? And what he said was he's looking forward to creating the best content that he can and attracting more and more fans to come and pay attention to the NBL. And I think so far from what he's done in the grid, I think he's definitely on the right path in doing that. I see him picking up Photoshop again. I know that he had previously learned Photoshop back in the day, but he's getting back into it again, learning all the tools that there is to be learned, pushing out mock drafts with me in the grid. He's always there to help us with content, always there to help with members if they have questions about content or whose games are up to be played. He's always just paying attention. He's always there to help. And I think once he does make it to the NBL, he's definitely going to be an asset to that league. The last and final question I have for Brocco was, if he was a Madden developer, what feature would he introduce to the game? And Brocco's answer, of course, it had to do with CFM, Connected Franchise Mode. He would introduce the ability for owners when they move their teams to different cities, or even if they don't move their teams to different cities, to have the ability to customize their team's uniforms or create their own logos, things like that, which, you know, I know in 2K basketball you can definitely do that, and I enjoy doing that when I play 2K. I think it's something that would definitely give us personal feel with our teams and our CFMs. Don't know where it would stack against on the priority list for the developers, but I asked him if he was the developer, and that's how he answered. So I definitely respect that, and I think it's a good feature that I would like to have in the game as well. So if you're not already following Brocco Beef's Grid Twitter account, that Twitter handle is Brocco Beef, BROCCOBEEF, Brocco Beef. So my last and final segment that I'd like to do each podcast is help you guys with one tool that is going to help you create better content in the grid, in the NBL, or if you're listening from the outside and you're in a different connected franchise league, this should help you as well. So the one tool for today is www.canva.com. That's CANVA. Essentially what it is, it's a graphic design tool that is super easy to use. If you've never used any graphic design tool, you know, this is not going to be hard to learn. They do provide you free tutorials that you can do. They're step by step. They walk you through how to do things basic, but you're able to just import images. You're able to manipulate them however you want. They have tons of tool templates you can use for all the different social medias out there, websites, blog posts, things like that. I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. It's very drag and drop friendly. This is the tool I use to create all the mock drafts that I've done in the grid. Canva is totally free to use, so there's no fees you have to pay. If you do use some of their vector artwork, then you do often have to pay a $1 fee, but you can easily just Google what you're looking for typically, save that image, import it into Canva, and then you have it for free. I'm sure there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube. You can pretty much YouTube anything these days, but they have plenty of tutorials, I'm sure, different tricks that you can use on Canva to make your posts look better. But this should definitely help you guys out with creating better content, making it look better for your league. www.canva.com. Tweet at me. Let me know if you've used it. Let me know if this helped you out. I'd definitely like to hear. That will conclude our first episode of the Grid Lockdown Podcast. Pay attention, subscribe to the NBL Network, and tune in next time. Thanks, guys.